Today, I'm happy to welcome author Rachel Trautmiller. I want to say that right. She's not only an author, but she also has a one-stop publishing shop for indie authors. So, Rachel, welcome to Between the Lines podcast.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. Thanks for having me. Thanks to the viewers for taking the time to watch this. I'm excited to be here just to talk with all of you and kind of showcase what I do and tell you a little bit about myself. Um, I have pretty much loved writing all of my life. I've loved reading forever. And so I kind of grew up wanting to see my stories come to life, grew up pretending that the backyard had a wormhole that I could time travel in. And so I loved movies like Back to the Future. And so that kind of inspired me to kind of write in that avenue.
Right.
Um, as I got older, of course, in my teen years, historical romance was kind of what my mom read. And so I did kind of start writing in that genre. Did not ever finish one. I have the utmost respect for historical writers because it takes a lot of research and knowledge to be able to write that genre.
I agree. Not only a lot of research and knowledge, but the wording is different, the language is different.
Yeah.
But I have to say, sci-fi fantasy, which I know the Fracture Within, which we're going to talk about, is your YA book. It's sci-fi fantasy type book, right?
Mhm.
That takes more because you have to create a world. You can't just delve into some archaeological or historic records and create it from that. You have to actually create from the very beginning. So I hats off to you because I think that's even harder, I will say.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. It can be, especially when you're talking time travel as well. Obviously, the fracture within isn't so much time travel, but having written that in the past, you really need to keep your facts straight and make sure that you've got sci-fi buffs that are, hey, that timeline can't work with
Yeah.
X, Y, Z. You've got a loop. So you're making up this world and something that we do not experience. And then you have people that have experience with it in a fictional sense.
And that's going to be true of any writing that you do. Honestly, I even contemporary fiction or
Mhm.
whatever. Somebody will, the first book I published, I had an intern teacher in there, and I had somebody on my street team actually say, "Oh, well, that's not how they do it." Well, I was a teacher, and that was how they do it. But this gal had been a teacher 20, 30 years before, and they didn't do it that way. So they will still correct you no matter what. So if you don't have, or even I had blood typing in one of my books, where a character had different blood type than her parents had, and somebody got very upset that they thought I had messed that up, but it was a lot of research. And so somebody's going to always look for the glitches in your writing. I think that's what they're searching for more than anything. So that's a hard road to take sometimes. So Rachel, you were writing suspense, his, you were writing romantic suspense, and then you switched over. Why don't you tell us why you made that switch? What inspired that switch for you?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I started with romantic suspense. It was what I was reading at the time, and so it was really easy. The research didn't feel like a chore, and like it did with the historical romance. And my daughter was really young at the time, and she is still fairly young, but she was 11 when when I really kind of got started with the Fracture Within. But prior to that, I just was looking for good things for her to read. I like clean reads. My hats are off to them, but I kind of wanted to go a little bit deeper, things that would draw her deeper into a relationship with Christ. And it's difficult to find. She was reading a lot of Robin Jones Goon, and I may
Uh-huh.
have mentioned her last name. And
The gun, Robin Jones' gun. Yeah.
Gun. She
Yeah.
always corrects me too. She's like, "Mom, it's not Goon, it's Gun." Sorry, Robin. And so that was kind of like an inspiration, like, okay, my daughter's reading these books, she likes them, she's talking about issues that teenagers are facing, um, and she's taking it a step further without it being too heavy for their age group, but anybody could read it. I mean, I was able to read those books alongside her, so that was my goal, in switching my genres to YA, but also having a goal of anybody can read it. It's not just teenagers are the only, or young adults. I've had 30, 40-year-olds. I've even had an 80-year-old read it and say, this was a really good book. So that's the goal, is that anybody could read it. And
But you want the young people to be able to read it and get something from that, so they are safe in what they're reading, but going deeper. Did you
yes,
find that switch to be a challenge at all, to from going from historical to YA? Or not historical, I apologize, to YA.
yes, it was a challenge for me, because when you're, I mean, I'm kind of a little bit of a nerd in I don't have a lot of science knowledge, but I have enough to be dangerous, right? And so the brain is, what we do constantly over and over, the brain is rewired um, to just, that's comfort, right?
Right.
Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And so that's kind of how I view it, is I was really used to romantic suspense, and that was easy. The stories wrote themselves. And there were challenging parts to it, of course. Sometimes you would get stuck in a plot thing. But it, part of the issue with switching to the YA sci-fi was that I'd never written for that age group. I only had my daughter to kind of, hey, does this work for you? And so there's some inadequacies there that you're like, oh, am I good enough to do this? Can I complete this? And I think that's one of the things. Sometimes God calls us to something that we absolutely can't do on our own. And so it was a different writing experience. I couldn't rely on myself. I had to rely on lots of the people that God put in my life, but also the Holy Spirit to kind of lead me in like the direction that the book was supposed to go. And sometimes that requires sitting and waiting
Right.
versus.
Right. The waiting can be hard. I have spoken to authors, interviewed authors that dream their scenes the night before and just get up and write them. And I'm like, I want that. Can I please have that? That just blows my mind. I can't remember a dream to save my life. I think if God were even giving me those dreams, I wouldn't remember them in order to write them. But
Yeah,
everybody gets their inspiration from different places, and I think God speaks to us all differently as
yeah,
well. So
definitely.
tell us about The Fracture Within. Tell us a little bit about the story.
So I know you're going to use this mostly audio, but I've got a little at the book here. Um, it is about college students on a Christian college campus. And the main character's got the perfect life. Not too cliche, like she's has issues and problems, but family that's generations of faithful Christians. She's on a full ride scholarship for soccer. All of her longtime friends are on campus with her. And, in the beginning of the book, you kind of see her, that's kind of built around her, but she also has some issues because she's injured her foot. And so she's in danger of losing that scholarship. And not to get too far into it, but yeah, there's an accident that occurs and it changes everything. It changes the way she views life, literally and figuratively. And so we kind of go through the motions with her of grappling with her faith in that. Who does she trust to be able to talk to about it? And then, obviously the ending, coming together and figuring all of that out. And that's what all of us deal with. We're
Right.
dealing with an issue. Who do we trust to talk about it with, and how do we fix it?
And did you draw your inspiration for the characters from someplace specific, or did you dream them up, or?
No, I dream a lot, but I don't dream characters typically. Um, the book actually started quite different because it was kind of something I wanted to write for adults.
Mhm.
And I had taken like a 6-year break from writing. And so the idea had kind of come, oh, I'm going to write this story about this character that ends up in another dimension. And in this dimension, she can see, one half of a face is the real issues of like the soul and the mind, right? And the other half is like the fake portrayal of what we portray to the world sometimes. And who does she trust with that truth? And how does she live in a society that doesn't allow this, doesn't know what this means, and basically would want to kill her for that? So I took that and took some aspects of it and made it, a YA sci-fi novel instead, slightly different. So it took the suspense element out of it.
Do you have another book you're working on? Because this came out in October, correct?
Yes, yeah.
So do you have another book that you're planning on launching sometime soon?
So I am hopefully in the next like 8 or 9 months. The second book in the series is my goal. I'm working on it, got a couple chapters down, pretty excited about it.
So the
So yeah,
goal for you is like a book a year in
yeah,
that.
I would love to do more, but my daughter is about to be 13, and I want to be able to enjoy um, writing, but enjoy family life and not be stressed.
Balance is good. I was without balance for quite a while. I'm just finally getting, I went, in fact, one of the things you guys should know is with Rachel, she's also, and I did say a one-stop, what did I call it? One-stop publishing shop for indie authors. So she's doing book design, book cover design, formatting, editing, all those things that are so critical to those of us that are indie authors. And I was with a publisher, expected to write 3 books a year, and I had no balance. And so I finally went indie, and oh my word, it's the best choice I ever made. So it wasn't even my choice. It was months and months and months of God saying, let me be your publisher. And I'm like, what does that look like? So
Yeah,
he always has a better plan, thankfully.
he
But
does.
so the formatting and the editing and all those things that you're able to do as well. So when you publish a book, of course, you can put it on your timeline. No, I've got to ask you this because I was an English teacher, so the editing is pretty easy for me. I have a critique team that I edit for, but I'm still told you should never edit your own work as final edits. Do you have somebody else editing your work?
Yeah, yeah. Edits by Laura edits all of my work. I found out the hard way the first couple of books I published. I thought, oh, I'll have just some people I know read them real quick. It'll be fine. I love English. I've been doing this forever, and yeah, you learn the hard way. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of mistakes I didn't catch. I've read this 30 million times now. You're just naturally going to.
It is amazing how your mind can just glance right over those errors and not see them. And it doesn't matter how many times you read it, it makes it tough. But also, I think for content, sometimes they catch a glitch in there that we don't see, at least for me. They'll
Yeah,
catch a glitch that I didn't see. And I think that's important too, because nothing drives me nuts faster than a book where the content is unbelievable. Something
yeah,
when I'm even watching a television show, I'm so bad. My husband and I work out every morning. We have a gym in our garage, and we watch like right now we're going through Blue Bloods. You watch a program as you're working out.
yeah,
And I'm as soon as we're done, I'm like, well, this couldn't have happened because, and he's like, why do you always have to do that? I said, because it drives me nuts. You think about watching a show like Castle and Beckett's running around with full on makeup. She gets out of bed in the morning and she's got the full on makeup and she's wearing 4-inch heels and she's chasing after. Really? There's no
yeah,
way you're going to chase after bad people in 4-inch heels. It's just not going to happen. So
yeah.
I struggle with that because, let's get real. Let's just be real. So anyway, that's
I
my
think type of readers too, like some readers are like, yeah, I don't think that could happen, but you just easily gloss over it. And I think when you have like logical, analytical, there are some like this is a full stop. No. I read a book well, hasn't even been recently, but like a couple of years ago. I was excited because it was sci-fi and all these high-tech gadgets. And really well written, but all the high tech futuristic gadgets. And then he had to walk down the stairs. And I don't know why, because I'm not super like logical and like, oh, I can't read it usually. But for some reason, it just took me out of the scene because I'm like, you had a watch that like flow. I don't even remember what the things were, but really futuristic, like think like 300-400 years in the future. And I was just like, if you had all these things, you would definitely not be walking down the stairs. It just didn't feel,
you at
it felt
least
off.
have an escalator, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why. It probably was just,
Or if you read a book that's really set way back in the past, I struggle with biblical fiction where they're using all kinds of contractions. And I'm sorry, they didn't use words, they didn't use contractions. And the best way to make it feel authentic is to pull them out of there and not use them, or be careful about using words or things that weren't invented yet and sticking
yeah,
to the story. So, that you can get drawn, and some people really don't care. I think for the most part, readers don't care. They just want to be entertained and it's fine. And the more I write, the harder it is to read because I become a nitpicker and I don't like it. But
maybe
when I find an
this.
author I really love, then I'm hooked. So that,
Yeah.
that yeah. So the next book, it's part of the series.
Yes.
You want to give us a little bit of a clue?
Yeah.
That would be good.
Sure, yeah. So the next part of the series follows the same characters, but you do get an additional point of view. Charlotte still, that's the main character's name. I guess I didn't introduce her. She's still dealing with kind of learning how to live with her new reality, I guess I'll call it, and the good and the bad that comes with it, and trusting God in that. But of course, there's now somebody else who's dealing with the same issue that she had. So she has to decide if she's going to trust God when he says, "Hey, I think you should, go talk to this person about it," or if she's going to try and do it her own way. And I think we can all relate to that because we've all been in the moment of, I just don't think that's right. I'm going to do it this other way, and then we end up in a big mess.
So challenges, you had said before we got started recording that your husband just recently retired military. Is that true? Or was it a while back? Recently
Yeah,
retired military.
recent November. Yeah.
So how does that, is he working outside the house or is he like underfoot all the time? I just got,
No, he is actually streaming. So we're kind of, both being content creators a little bit, kind of taking the journey together. The retirement is, I'm happy to see it for him because it was, the 24 years is a long time in the military. So he deserves it. And he's got a nice little office. And then we're typically out of the house most days anyway. And then we've just always been kind of close as a family. So we like to mostly be wherever. So he's got an office. Sometimes we'll hang out in there, or sometimes we're in opposite rooms too. It just kind of depends on the mood for the day and if we have other busy stuff to do too.
well, with a 13-year-old as well. So
Yes.
too busy, I'm sure.
Yeah, she's a blessing. I mean, God was definitely I can't say any more than that. I just don't even have any good words for it. But yeah, I do. I somebody, people always say, "Oh, children are a blessing," and I feel that more. I feel like with every single year, they really are. Think of where I would be without a kid. In some ways, I think it would be worse. And not to say that you can't do well without a kid, because that is certainly not the case. But for me personally, I feel like it was just such a blessing and a way to slow down while also getting busier in
Well,
other ways.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, cannot imagine not having children, although my children have chosen not to have children, so I won't be a grandma, and that breaks my heart a little bit. But
oh
can't control everything, you know? And I
no.
do think, like you said, God is in charge. I mean, I pour a lot of time into the children at church. I teach Sunday school, and I pour
Hmm.
a lot of time into those relationships, which I probably would not be pouring into as much if I had grandchildren, because I see
Hmm.
that have all these grandkids that they're taking care of. They don't have that time or
Yeah.
that energy. So it gives me that opportunity because I just love I do the 4 and 5 year olds, and I never thought I would be able to teach when I taught school, it was middle school. And I did a very brief stint in student teaching in kindergarten, and I thought I'm never going to survive this. These kids have no sense of humor whatsoever, and they don't understand sarcasm. So I to teach 4 and 5 year olds in Sunday school. I'm like, you're probably asking the wrong person. But God knows, and I think they're adorable. So it's been fun. But yeah, it's hard when you don't have the grands to have around. So hopefully your daughter will want children when she gets older, and have that.
So far she does, but I mean, we all did it. I think I wanted like 5 kids at that age, and we had one, and I was like, I don't want any more kids. I'm tired. Um, yeah, we actually serve in the 4-year-old classroom at church as well, and that's I would say the same kind of challenges you were facing. Like, am I equipped for this? Like, because I don't have young kids anymore, and but they're really cute, and most days are good. So.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I've been doing Bible studies that are women's Bible studies, and we've been doing studies with Jen Wilkin. I don't know if you've ever done any studies by her, or if you.
No.
She's an incredible teacher, incredible Bible teacher. Like I can't say enough good things about her. She's very good, very practical, but very Bible based, and very good about how she teaches things, and very stoic in a way. And so she said when she had kids, like she never really cared to have kids. And her prayer when she got pregnant was, please God, let me like my kid. Please let me like my kid. She had 4 kids in 4 years. So apparently something went well. So it worked out for her. But you just
Oh,
never know. You just never know. But so tell us a little bit about the other end of what you do, because I mean, this has got to be a balancing act for you. You're writing, you've got a daughter, you have a husband at home, and I have one of those too. For me, it's been a blessing because since I've been writing full time and he's not working, he retired, he does almost all the cooking. So I'm like, yay, because I don't really care to do that anyway. But how do you balance all that in your life? Do you have a schedule? Like I'm a very scheduled person. I have to have routine. Are you routine oriented? Are you a fly by the seat of your pants? Or even when you're writing, are you a plotter? Are you a pantser? That says a lot about a person, how they deal with all that.
I guess it does. We are still in the beginning stages of his retirement, but I can say that as far as like home life, there are days where I get home and like the house is clean, and that's a beautiful thing. I'm like you, I don't really like cooking that much, but um, we're kind of low key on the meals, so that's a positive. If we're all hungry, we have some ideas, and sometimes if you throw out meat, he wants to grill it or take care of it. So I'm fortunate and blessed in that too. And I'm sure as we get more time in this routine, we'll come up with some things. We're not real structured. I'm not real structured in my writing either. One thing that I have kind of come to the conclusion of is I do write my blurb first. So kind of somewhat of a snowflake method, I guess, just kind of I've got a rough draft of what it's going to be about, start writing from there. And then often that blurb will change over time a little bit.
Yeah.
I've not yet had it change entirely, so it's working so far. My first book, I didn't write the blurb until after, and that was like the most challenging thing I have ever done. Was like, what, I just wrote 400 pages, and I'm supposed to condense this into 3 paragraphs now, and so I just found writing it first kind of gave me a guideline. I'm starting to be more practical as far as not winging things because so I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Um,
I,
I
I get that. I think I mean, to be open, well, I think almost every single time I write a book, I have an idea in mind. And I don't do the blurb first. I can't even do the title first. I'm so bad at that. But I have an idea in my mind, and God always, always, always brings in a character I had no intention of having in there, and turning it around, and that character becomes pivotal to the whole
yes,
story. That just, to me, that blows my mind. It's like, wow, I didn't see that coming. And in one of my stories, it was actually a dog. I had no intention of putting a dog in there, and that dog became part of the whole faith story for the main character throughout that story. So I'd like to say I would be more structured because it would be easier to sit down and have some structure. I like to have structure where I know where the plot points are going to fall, and that kind of thing, and how it's going to end. But you have to leave room for the Holy Spirit to do his work too.
you absolutely do. And speaking of that, I actually have a character in The Fracture Within who will be one of the main characters in the second book. He was just a walk-on, a random character in the cafeteria in a scene, and then he grew into this bigger um, character, life form, and so much so that I kind of ended up, because you fall in love with your characters. Let's be real. I was just like, I love you. I want to see you succeed. I want to see you, like you're a real person. I want to see you heal and grow. And so he will be a main. His name is Zeb. He'll be a main character in the second book. So it'll be interesting.
It is interesting. The first book I actually wrote, full on book that I wrote, was inspired by my brother was a Christian, and it was a Christian before I was actually, and he committed suicide. And so
Oh,
my story was, a lot of it was going through that process of being able to get through that pain, because he and I were very close. He was only a year older than me. So I had a character in that first draft of the story. Her name was Tess, and I put her in there. And I was in a big critique. We probably had 20 people in our critique group at that point, and
mhm.
they were like, "Oh, oh, we like her. Are you gonna? Oh, are you going to bring her back into the story? Well, on the rewrite, she got completely written out of it, but she was still there. Like she
Hmm.
was a person to me. She was an actual person. So she ends up getting her own book later on, bringing that character back in. You do. It's a weird thing that these people become so real to you. I have a hard time ending a book often because I have to say goodbye to them, and that's hard.
Yeah, yeah, that is hard. My daughter actually just finished reading The Fracture Within, and she was taking her time because she got to the last page and she said, "No, I'm sad. It's over, and you haven't finished book two." And I'm like, "I'm really sorry. I'm working on it."
Yeah, I find that happens a lot. When it's a very good book, it is really hard to come to the end of it. Really hard.
Yeah,
When it's
I,
not a very good book, but you're determined to finish it, you can't wait till it ends. There's the difference.
yes.
Well, it's been really nice speaking with you. Is there anything for, because you work, I'm sure, with a lot of indie authors, people that want to be authors and they're struggling, and is there anything that you would maybe give advice to for somebody who really would like to be an author, but they don't know where to start or they don't know if they have it in them? Would you have a piece of advice for them?
I think it would just be to keep writing, and then once you finish something, definitely get a team of professionals, whether that's somebody you hire from a network of indie authors, or even if some traditionally published authors. Um, just don't give it up if it's a passion that God's put in your heart. If there's a story that He's put it on you, surrender what it is to Him. And I think the greatest gift that we can give Him is to just, hey, I have this idea. I'm really excited about it, but I'm not moving till you say to move.
Right.
And that was kind of pivotal for me in this one. Is okay, I've taken a 6 year break, but um, I'm not moving until I know it's from you. I'm not moving until you say, okay, go. And once he did, it was all there rather quickly. So he'll provide the time. It doesn't mean there won't be setbacks,
Right.
things that get thrown in your way. Just know that he's in it all, the good, the bad, and you can't have a good day without a bad one.
Well, and I think too, if you have a passion for writing, a gift for it, something inside you, you were given that gift by the Lord.
Yeah,
And just like in the parable of talents, you've been given something, don't bury it.
yeah,
And yes, you need to wait until his timing to move on things, but then I think we can tend to make excuses not to move ahead rather
yes.
than moving ahead. Have you gone to many writers' conferences or have you gone to any conferences?
I have not, unfortunately. I was part of American Christian fiction writers for a while and had a critique group. That was kind of where I started with my first novel. Awesome bunch of ladies that really, man, I don't know where I'd be in my writing without them. Some of them are successful, published like multiple books. Not because that was like 20 some years ago, but um, and my journey's been just a little bit slower, but they really poured into me. And I was definitely the youngest. I think I was like 18 or 19 in that crew. And I think most of them were like 30 or above, but they just really poured into me and, helped me with each chapter. And I'm really thankful.
I do think there is a lot available out there for those. Like I've been blessed to go to a ton of conferences. In
Yeah.
fact, I was at the ACFW a couple of times. I met Robin Jones Gunn at ACFW.
Oh,
You
awesome.
mentioned the snowflake method. My first mentor teacher was Randy Ingermanson, who wrote the snowflake method, and then yeah, I had extensive conversations with him about that. So it's a really cool way to meet a lot of these authors and to get the encouragement to move on. But for those that aren't able to do that, because I know it can be pricey, we don't all have husbands that are said, "Hey, this is your passion. Let me foot the bill for you and let you go wherever you want." We're not all that blessed. I was blessed like that, but not everybody is. But there are like ACFW, once you pay for the, and it's not that expensive to join, there are online critique groups that you can get on there, and I think that's hugely beneficial. I've been with ACFW, I've been with SEPA, I've been with different groups. I'm not with anybody right now, but that is available. So I'm glad you mentioned that because I think that's critical. That was my first critique group was ACFW. I had a critique partner through ACFW as well, and that's very helpful too.
I
So
think that's the most inexpensive way to kind of get your foot in the door.
And there are a lot of really, really good books on crafting. And my favorite one, I think that I keep going back to because I struggle with plot structure, is Story Engineering by Larry Brooks. That's a really good book. If you want to sit down and have an idea of how you should structure your book, because I think structure is, you don't want to meander through half your book and find out you're not going anywhere. That's not cool. So there are a lot of good books available, and you could go online and find them, and you'll see, you have endorsements from people that have actually used them, and very helpful. So another one, and I don't even know who wrote it. It's a little tiny book called Riveting Your Reader with Deep Point of View, which I love. It's like this, too super thin, but it has some great instructions on how to go from into a deep point of view. Because I love deep point of view. I'm a freak for it. I think it's really critical to get your reader's attention with that. So just a couple of ideas for those of you that want to write and want to have somewhere to start and help your craft. It is a craft. It is a learned craft. Anything you're going to do well, you got to put the time in.
Yeah,
You,
it's a must for sure.
I see so many people. I have hear people say, "I'm just going to write me a book and make some money," and I'm like, "Well, don't quit your day job because it doesn't quite work that way."
Exactly.
So anyway, Rachel, it's been a pleasure. I'm excited. Maybe when you get done with your second book, we'll have you back on and we can talk about that.
I would love that. Thank you so
Wonderful.
much.
You're so welcome. And I will make sure that I put Rachel's information in the show notes. And I think you have a Amazon follow page, I'm pretty sure. And then
Yeah.
at your website, I'll put that in there. I'll put a link to the book, The Fracture Within, so that people can get on there and read it. I will also put in the, sorry, in the blurb, the actual back cover copy so that
Okay.
the show notes are in there so everybody can see that up front.
Thank
Okay.
you so much, Jennifer. Thank you to everybody listening or watching.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Rachel. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.